Welcome back. Line charts part 4, looking at gasoline prices in two different areas of the West Coast. Here we've got Oregon and some prices in Los Angeles. So that's what you completed on the previous assignment, which was line graph 3. And so your final chart looked like this. And so in this video, line chart 4, we're going to analyze these differences in prices. So we'll calculate some averages and also calculate differences in cost for driving in these areas. So the first thing to do is to update your worksheet with this information here that I have begun in cell A40. And so go ahead and pause the video and get these headings put in. We've got mean, and we're going to calculate a difference, and then this information right here. So go ahead, pause the video, and get these headings keyed into your worksheet, and then we'll continue with some formulas. First calculation will be to calculate the mean average for each of the prices for the past month. So we've got the Oregon and the Los Angeles prices. And so you will recall from a previous lesson, in order to calculate a mean average, the formula is equal average parenthesis and we're going to select those same values that we used to create the chart. And then another parenthesis, and then you'll note you can also see that right up here on the formula bar. Check mark. Average price is $2.49. Now we're going to round that, so it's going to be at $2.50 because we are going to decrease our decimals so that we have that just two places there, the tenths and the hundredths place. And then we'll do the same thing here. You can also start at the bottom of your list. And there's our formula. So the average price for the past month in Oregon is $2.50 a gallon, and in Los Angeles, average price $2.76 per gallon. Place a border underneath the difference heading. So we'll just go ahead and calculate the difference between those two. There's that formula again. So we have a 26-cent difference. And next up, we'll do some calculations on difference in annual cost between these two regions. Let's first input our yearly or annual miles driven. Typically, most people put at least 15,000 miles on a car. So we'll go ahead and start with 15,000. And I'm going to format that with commas and no decimal places. The miles per gallon, of course, will vary by vehicle. But in our example here, let's assume that we're using a mid-size sedan, something like a Toyota Camry, and we'll just throw in a number of, let's say we average 28 miles a gallon. So then we need to next figure out how many total gallons would you consume or burn in that car in a year? Total gallons used. I want to give you a minute to think about that. You're going to put 15,000 miles on your car. The car gets about 28 miles per gallon of gasoline. So how many total gallons would you need in order to drive 15,000 miles? Take a minute to think about that. If you said divide, you would be correct. We need to divide. Which two numbers do you think we need to divide? Yes, we're going to use these numbers, but which one gets divided by the other? If you said that we need to take our total miles and divide it by miles per gallon, you would be correct. That will tell us how many gallons we need. Equal sign. We need to go 15,000 miles. We're going to divide that by how many miles we get with 1 gallon of fuel. That would be 536 gallons of gasoline. Now, how could we, what could we do to make sure that we did that correctly? Does it make sense that we would divide 15,000 by 28? Well, if we have 536 gallons and we can go 28 miles on 1 gallon, then 536 times 28 should equal 15,000. Let's do it real quick and see. 536 times 28. And there we go, 15,000 miles. Okay, so annual miles divided by miles per gallon, that's how many total gallons we need. Now, what's nice about this, and we've talked about this many times with Excel, is that you can do these what-if analysis. Well, what if I don't have that? What if I'm going to, like in my case, drive my pickup down there, which is going to average about 17 miles a gallon. And all of a sudden, I need a lot more gasoline. In fact, I would say it's probably not going to average. That's probably too high. If we're looking at city driving, stop and go, I might be lucky to get 14. If I take my travel trailer, I'm thinking maybe it's getting 8 miles a gallon. It sure feels like it. So there's a big difference in the total gallons of gasoline that are used. So now we can figure out the difference, though, in these prices. So let's go back up to 28. And let's go here to the cost for Oregon. How are we going to do this? We're going to have to purchase 535 gallons, and we're just going to use the current prices for the past 30 days. So we need this number and this number. What do you think we should do? Are we going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide these two numbers in order to come up with our total cost for driving this vehicle for 1 year? If you said multiply, I will agree. We are going to take essentially 536 gallons, multiply that times the Oregon price, $. So there is our yearly cost in fuel for this Toyota Camry driving 15,000 miles, $1,337. Rounding that up. In Los Angeles, same vehicle, same mileage would cost you, once again, total gallons times the LA price, $1,478, and the difference is Los Angeles price or cost minus Oregon could cost you about $142 more per year to drive in the Los Angeles area versus driving in Oregon. So at this point, pause the video and make sure you have these numbers and these formulas. And then we will move on to doing more analysis where we will look at some changes in gasoline prices and comparing a couple different vehicles and how that impacts costs. Let's add another vehicle for analysis. Click somewhere in column A and come over to the Insert tool and let's insert a column. And let's call this our Camry. And we'll call this our Toyota Tundra. We'll stick with the Toyota family of vehicles. And then we'll get 15,000 entered here. You can simply copy that with our fill handle. And our average is going to be 15 miles per gallon. And then go ahead and do the calculations for this vehicle just like you did for the Camry. So go ahead and pause that video and make those calculations, and then we'll move on from there. So hopefully your numbers look similar to mine. Calculated that we would need 1,000 gallons of gasoline. I will double click and there's that formula. 15,000 divided by the 15 miles per gallon. Cost to drive that pickup truck in Oregon, $2,495. $250 times the 1,000 gallons. And in Los Angeles, 1,000 gallons times the $2.76. And then that simple subtraction problem of the Los Angeles cost minus the Oregon cost. And so the pickup truck difference, $264, $265 a year to drive that. So make sure you have those formulas. And ask any questions that you may have. And then we will continue. Let's make a copy of this range of information here and take a look at what these costs would have been if we look at gasoline prices from about 3 years ago. So the first thing we can do here is copy all of this and just make another section where we can change these numbers. So I'm going to select that range from A42 to G45. Here's my copy button. And then I'm going to bring it on down here to A50 and paste that right here. Now you're going to see that we have some zero values here because our cell references have changed, and so if I were to click on one of these, for example, it thinks we want to multiply this blank cell by 1,000. But we're going to fix that here in just a second. So go ahead and come up here to B48 and put in price for 2013. And you're going to put in the average price for Oregon for this time frame, about September of 2013, for Oregon and for Los Angeles, just like you did where you found these prices. So what you're going to do is go back to GasBuddy.com and then choose the 3-year chart option, looking at those prices, and then just get an estimate of about what the average was for September of 2013 for both Oregon and Los Angeles, and you're going to be somewhere in the mid-3s probably for LA, and maybe low, and possibly lower than that for Oregon. So somewhere over $3 for sure. And so get those values and just key those in. And then go ahead and take these values here, delete those formulas, and redo the formulas again for the new information. Make sure that you're referencing this location here for each of those prices, just like you did here. And see what you come up with, and I'll come by and check your work, and we'll take a look at it. And then we can talk a little bit more about that after you have that completed.